Hey everybody, Darcy here. I just wanted to do a short introduction to these next few episodes. The Dyatlov Pass is the topic of the discussions, and it's one of my favorite mysteries. We had a lot of people send in suggestions and write in to cover these episodes, so me and Scones decided to put them out for you guys. This is the first time we actually ever recorded for the podcast. This discussion went on for about 3 hours. I've edited up 3 about hour-long episodes. These episodes might be a little rougher and a little less polished, and we were still kind of figuring out what we were going to do and what the times were, but we think you guys will enjoy these deep dives into the Dyatlov Pass. It's a little bit of a departure from our standard 30-minute-ish episode, but we think you guys you'll enjoy it. Let us know if you like this. We'll see if we can do maybe some more deep dives in the future. And keep sending in suggestions. Keep listening to the podcast. Tell your friends. We appreciate it. And have a good Monday. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Monday Morning Macabre Podcast. I am your host, Darcy. I'm here with your other host, Scones.
Hello, everyone.
How are you, my sweet boy?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's very strange to have an intro, and it feels weird to be...
This is the first episode.
Structured. It doesn't feel normal.
We're doing great so far.
Off to 100% start. So this is a podcast where we talk about all things spooky, creepy, weird,
unexplainable,
unexplained, strange,
macabre, even.
You might say that.
I'd go so far as to say that.
Etc. I guess the format for, I should explain this in the first episode, is that each week, either Scones or I will present some kind of strange or creepy or macabre event or happening, or
usually in a historical context from looking at either primary or secondary sources of a, I guess we'll say, true event. We're not just saying stories or
This isn't like Marty
fiction. We're not gonna read them Stephen King now.
Yeah. So, and the other individual who has not done the research has no idea what it's going to be that week.
None.
Therefore, they get to kind of act as a conduit for the audience to kind of to ask questions, live vicariously through them.
Me?
You.
This episode?
You this episode? With that said, we might as well get into it.
Let's get into it.
Let's get into it. Episode 1. We're going to be talking about the Dyatlov Pass incident. Now, you know zero about this, right?
I know it took me a while, but I know how to spell it.
You managed to figure out where that Y goes?
Yeah, there's a lot of consonants in this language. What language is this? Where's this
This
from?
is Russian. So this is Eastern Europe. This is a thing that happened in January to February, I should say, of 1959 in the Ural Mountains over in Eastern Russia. So we're going... It's basically the entry...
Oh wait, Eastern Russia, like the...
It's like the entry to Siberia.
Is.
It's right before nothing.
Okay.
And there's a lot of nothing in Russia. It's like the littlest bit of something and then nothing. So 1959, group of hikers.
Cold War's in full swing.
Cold War is in full swing. This is about 6 years after the fall of Stalin, I believe. I think it was 53.
I'll buy it.
I'm going to say 53, and then don't fact-check that.
No one fact-checked that.
Nobody fact-checked this, and I read a book called Dead Mountain by Donnie Eicher.
Donnie Eicher.
I actually read a book. That's how goddamn ready I am. I know what I'm doing.
He's so ready, he feels like swearing.
So ready, I feel like editing. And in his book, he actually has a good brief summary that I'm going to read to you because it does a good job of kind of getting you into that mood, that spooky mood.
Like a bedtime story.
Yeah, exactly.
You were like a parent that's a psychopath.
Here we go. This is from Donnie Eicher's Dead Mountain. The bare facts were these. In the early winter months of 1959, a group of students and recent graduates from the Ural Polytechnical Institute departed from the city of Sverdlovsk on an expedition to the Otorten Mountains in the northern Urals. All members of the group were experienced in lengthy ski tours and mountain expeditions. But given the time of year, their route was estimated to be of the highest difficulty, a designation of grade 3. 10 days into the trip, on the 1st of February, the hikers set up camp for the night on the eastern slope of the Kholat Syakhl mountain. That evening, an unknown incident occurred, sending the hikers fleeing from their tent into the darkness and piercing cold. Nearly 3 weeks later, after the group failed to return home, government authorities dispatched a search and rescue team. The team discovered the tent, but found no initial signs of the hikers. Their bodies were eventually found roughly a mile away from the campsite in separate locations, half dressed in sub-zero temperatures. Some were found face down in the snow, others in the fetal position, and some in a ravine clutching one another. Nearly all were without their shoes. After the bodies were transported back to civilization, the forensic analysis proved baffling. While 6 of the 9 had perished of hypothermia, the remaining 3 had died from brutal injuries, including a skull fracture. According to the case files, one of the victims was missing her tongue. And when the victim's clothing was tested for contaminants, a radiologist determined certain articles of clothing contained abnormal levels of radiation. So, there's a lot to dissect.
Yeah, let's unpack it.
So, what I really like about this event and this weird mystery is that it's unsolved. So, we're not going to have it's not going to tie up nicely in a bow at the end.
I'm going to be very unsatisfied.
You're going to be so unsatisfied, and that's a Darce guarantee. So at the end of it, it's like nobody knows what happens, and there's just so many theories, and they're all pretty interesting, and it runs the gambit of weird and creepy and is it a conspiracy? Is it a Yeti? Is it a UFO? Is it a missile launch?
I'm on board with Yeti.
Yeah. Okay. So your top one right now is Yeti.
Easily.
Okay. So that's why I was like, oh, I want to do this one first because it really covers such a crazy variety of potential weird shit.
That's good. And it's funny because if you're a cynic, this story doesn't sound all that crazy. Kids take a hard ski route.
Right.
And then something goes wrong.
And
then when you get into the really specifics of it, it's
we'll get into the specifics.
A lot could have happened.
Yeah, and you're gonna be like, what? So let's start. I think the best way to explain it is to start from the beginning.
Mm-hmm. And I'm going to be looking. I should say I'm going to be looking along on our website www.mondaymorningmacabre.com. And we have with our first episode, we have a notes section where we have some pictures notes that were.
Yep. A little collage of different photos taken. The hikers had
investigators?
No, the hikers had their cameras with them. This is another
so
part
they were
of the
recovered.
Story. So they recovered the hikers' cameras, and all of the photos on there are either pictures from the cameras or mock-ups made by the investigation team after the fact. So, with that said, we start. I actually have the timeline. So January 24th, I believe, is the... Let me double check that. Yep. Oh, okay. January 23rd. January 23rd. You got...
Pretty cold in the northern hemisphere.
It's eastern Russia in winter, and they're like, y'all want to climb a mountain? That's
a lot of
what
that stuff
do.
off that ski road.
Yeah, that's what you do in 1959 in Russia, apparently, is you're just like, let's go climb a mountain in the insane cold. It's kind of easy to think about this group as a movie, and the top billed guy is Igor Dyatlov, right? He is the head of the group. He's the guy. Basically, he was famous at the school's hiking club. He was the elite. He had the technical knowledge, and he was a good leader, and everybody wanted to be in his hiking group.
Popular dude.
Yeah, he was.
I'm looking at him right now. He's a pretty young looking guy.
Yeah, young.
How old are they?
They were
college students,
so
right?
23, 24, 22 in there. So they're all between 19 to 23. Yeah, so he was varsity jacket guy, walking around.
But it's Russia, so he's skied mountains.
Yeah, so that's the
he's the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. He had the whole elite guy you want to be around vibe, right?
He's hot shit.
Yeah, basically. And so he was studying engineering at UPI, Ural Polytechnical Institute. Basically, one of the reasons people wanted to be on his hiking team was so bad was that despite the official Soviet ban on shortwave radio transmissions during the Cold War, he outfitted these radio panels and made homemade shortwave radios that he would take with him. So this dude knew how to make walkie-talkies.
Illegal walkie-talkies.
Yeah, he was
contraband walkie-talkies.
Exactly. He was making walkie-talkies.
That's amazing.
and was like bringing them on hiking routes. And it's obviously super useful when you're in Russia and it's like snow and you can't see anything and you can be able to communicate that way. So everyone was like, this dude is super...
He knows what's up. All the other kids just had 2 cups with a string.
Yeah, they were just like... They had 2 cups and they were passing back and forth through the snow trying to talk to each other.
Yeah, really hard in the winter.
Not easy, especially when they're white cups and you're just like, son of a... It's like, styrofoam. We should have thought of this ahead of time. But so yeah, he knew all the engineering you need, and he was the guy, right? He's top billed cast member of this, if this were a movie, right? He's the head.
Mm-hmm. Main character.
Next, we've got Zenaida Kolmogorova. She was also a radio engineering student. All her friends called her Xena instead of Zenaida.
Warrior princess.
Yeah, so she was Xena Warrior Princess, basically. I mean, so she was regarded as lively and bright and always ready with an amusing remark or engaging story. She was the type of girl who drew admiration wherever she went. Word on the street is that like several of the dudes in this group were like crushing hard on Xena. She was the girl everyone wanted to be like. Ooh.
I'm looking at the group right now. It's 10 people. Only 2 of them are girls.
That's right. There's only 2 girls.
Sorry, Ludmila Dubinina. You lost out to Xena.
Xena was
the popular girl.
Yeah, she was the popular one. We're about to get
a 50-50 shot.
Yeah. So now we're getting to Luda. Like you said, Ludmila Dubinina, or Luda. She was the other girl, as you've mentioned. She was 20 years old and the youngest of the group. Okay. Now, here's where she's kind of a huge badass. She was a student of construction industry economics and was a serious person. So...
She didn't fuck around.
No, she did not.
Oh, wait, can I say that?
What, fuck around?
Yeah, fuck around. Can we say fuck around?
Fuck around? I mean, we did, and we are.
All right, let's fuck around. Okay, keep going.
So...
Luda was fucking around.
So she was fucking around.
No, she doesn't fuck around.
She is not one to fuck.
Yes.
To F... Why would I even censor at this point? No, he said like, okay, anyway. She was not one to do that. She was a very serious person, but she was strong, and she was like very strong-willed. And there was a previous hiking trip that they went on where she got shot in the leg after a companion mishandled a hunting rifle, and she had to be carried out of Siberia's eastern Sayan Mountains over 50 miles of rugged terrain. And she was just like making jokes, cracking jokes, and like hanging out the whole time as she got out of this place with like a gunshot wound to her leg.
You could give me robotic legs and I would never walk 50 miles in my entire life.
Insane. So she was a tough cookie, right?
So we got Igor, Xena.
Yeah, Igor,
Xena.
Yep.
Luda, and it looks like everyone else's name is Yuri.
There are 3 Yuris, and I'm glad you went to Yuri because next up we've got Yuri Yudin.
Okay, so I'm looking at the notes page right now. Sorry for the listeners if you're not. Yuri Yudin has an asterisk next to his name.
Yes, he does. Very good.
And no one else does.
Yeah, good note. Now,
and he looks... He's a wild look in his eye.
Yeah, he's basically... Yuri Yudin, he's one of the 3 Yuris. He always had good humor. He was kind of like he was funny, good humor.
Class clown kind of guy.
Class clown kind of guy. There's a couple of those, but something about Yuri that's important to note, and the reason he has an asterisk, is because he had suffered lifelong problems with rheumatism. He also had a heart condition.
What is rheumatism?
It's like...
For our fans that may not know. Of course I know, but...
Because you're wearing glasses.
Yeah.
So you know most things. Spoiler alert. So like arthritis. So he had like rheumatoid arthritis. Basically, he would have a lot of like chronic joint pain. He also had a heart condition and chronic knee and back pain.
So he was like, let's ski in the winter in Siberia.
Yeah, that's because that's what they did. Like that's how he was like, yo, I'm like put together with like bandages and bubble gum and stuff, but like I can't wait to
knee is attached to his ACL with a paperclip.
Yeah, exactly. So that's why he has the asterisk, because he's the only survivor of the group. Foreshadowing.
Wait, you said he survived?
That's right. That's what I said, and we'll get into that.
Okay. Wow. The guy whose body is falling apart is the one that survived.
Yeah. Well, yeah. We'll explain. All right. So besides Igor, Zuna, Luda, and Yudin, there were 5 others. You had Yuri Doroshenko. He was impulsive and brave, and he had a mythic nature about him because one time they were off on a hike, and he chased off a bear on a camping trip with nothing more than his nerve and a geologist's hammer.
What's a geologist hammer?
It's one of those like little like rock.
Oh, nothing.
You know?
It has no business fighting a bear.
No. A bear. If the bear would like mess you up.
Yeah.
If the bear. Like,
oh, that's pretty cool.
Yeah. So he's like also okay. I don't know what the badass like meter is because it
just keeps going up.
It's just like you get shot in the leg.
This guy's pretty badass, and then the next guy's more badass.
Yeah. And like because it's Russia in the winter.
It's a very high bar. Imagine like seeing these kids in high school and you know everything about them and you're like, what is this group? I would think this is the Illuminati.
Right, that's true. Yeah, you're like some about these people are like these are all very
they have direct contact with like a demigod or something.
Well, that makes me wonder is it like or is that just normal there for 1959? Like everybody was like, "Oh yeah, you got shot and walked 50 miles sick. I like fought 3 bears last weekend at my like uncle's place." It was like
I wouldn't mess with anyone from 1950s Russia.
So now we got Igor, Zina, Luda, Yuri, Yudin, and Yuri Doroshenko. We got 5, right? On to number 6. So next we've got Yuri Krivonishenko or Georgie.
So Krivonishenko is different than Doroshenko.
Right.
And they just call him Georgie.
Yeah, so
he has got some ears on him.
Yeah, that dude, yeah, he's got big old ears. He was the group's resident jester and musician, always ready with wisecracks and a mandolin. Right?
So that's a guy you want in your group.
Right. He's the guy like he's playing the mandolin.
He's
but
the
like,
glue guy.
This is at a time where like you're not an annoying person for doing
Mandolin's dope.
Because like that's what is the only form of
Mandolin's
entertainment
cool.
in Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was like he's really lucky he was born
like on the campsite. If you don't have a guy playing mandolin, you're all going nuts.
Yeah, everyone's like, "Oh man, I'm so bored. Where's that one instrument that like 2 people know how to play now?"
Yeah.
Up next, we've got Alexander Kolevatov. Kolevatov was a methodical young man with an imposing physical presence.
So is that just? I feel like that's writer talk for saying he's tall.
Yeah, he's tall and strong. He studied nuclear physics. He was very private and reluctant to share journal entries with the rest of the group. And he was very reserved. Okay, so you got Georgie's like the bard playing his mandolin, and then you got Kolevatov who's like, I'm gonna let you do that. I'm gonna write like poetry in my diary.
Okay.
Right. Then we've got Rustic Slobodin. So he was the group rich kid. He was the son of an affluent university professor and had already earned his degree in mechanical engineering. So he was the rich kid, but he wasn't like he wasn't like a jerk about it, you know? He was like a cool guy. He just happened to be rich.
Cool guy, rich kid?
Yeah, he was rich kid, cool guy was his Twitter handle.
Ooh.
Yeah. And
he also has mandolin guy.
Yeah.
mandolin guy 2, because mandolin guy 1 was taken
Georgie
by
is at Xena with pants. So lastly, we've got Nikolai Thibaut Brignoles.
No, we have 2 more guys.
No. I'll get to it.
Sorry.
9 hikers leave, but there's 10.
Dead?
9 dead, 10 hikers total. 9 of them are from college. We'll get to it.
So Nikolai Thibaut Brignoli.
Yeah, Brignoles. He went by Kolya. He was a great grandson of a French immigrant who immigrated to Russia in the 1880s, which France must have been bad in the 1880s to be like, let's go to that really cold
Eastern Russia.
Yeah, right? Like, I don't know what was going on in France, but
prosperity.
So Kolya had already earned his degree, industrial civil construction. He was very well read and serious, but he always looked for humor in any situation.
Good, because France was not cutting it.
Right.
There in France, they're like, no one here even plays the mandolin.
Yeah, they're like, everyone's playing like, I don't know what a French instrument is off the top of my head right now. So we've met all the characters, right? They're all getting ready. Basically, what they wanted to do with this hike, they're like, one of the main reasons they're doing this hike is that they're all currently grade 2 hikers, and they want to become grade 3 hikers, right? So
now, do you have to do this in the winter to become a grade 3 hiker?
Well, so here I've got the explanation of what makes a grade 3 hiker. It involves having to hike. You have to cover at least 186 miles of ground, with a third of those miles in challenging terrain, which is hilarious because you're in the dead of winter in like right before Siberia. So in my mind, every terrain is challenging terrain.
All of it.
Yeah, it's just so
Main Street in Moscow during the winter sounds like horrible.
It
terrain.
sounds like somewhere I'd never want to be in my entire life. So 186 miles, in a third of it in challenging terrain, right?
Mm-hmm.
they return. They basically become masters of the craft, which allows them to like teach others the art of ski hiking.
Okay, yeah, I get that. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's basically like to prove it's like the black belt of hiking, right?
Yeah.
So this is how they ascend to the next level. So they are like, all right, let's do it. And on January 23rd, they depart from Sverdlovsk to the city of Serov. So on that map, you'll see a little...
Yeah, I'm looking at it.
Yeah, they take the train they have like a bus at their campus, and they take it over to a train.
So they're going from the southern city?
Yep, they're going from south to north.
Okay.
Basically, they're on the train, and then a newcomer appears. A new
challenger approaches.
New challenger approaches. It happened to be an acquaintance of Igor's who had asked to tag along in the last minute because basically his group, it kind of dissolved.
Oh, fuck this guy.
So
this is like right out of a horror movie.
Right.
And
Isn't this
this
like a
guy
long...
who's like, oh, yeah, you didn't just go insane for the time period since I last saw you.
So his name is Alexander Semyon Zolotaryov, but his nickname is Sasha.
Mm-hmm.
And this dude was 37.
Wait.
So, yeah.
That sounds old.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, compared to the rest of them, he's much older.
Was that weird then?
That's the thing I was thinking. I was like, I don't know.
If I was like with my friends in college and one of them was like, oh, hey, look, it's my friend. And it's a 37-year-old guy who none of us know.
Yeah, and he's this tatted up ex-Marine, well, not Marine, but ex-soldier. And he basically, Sasha Zolotaryov was intended to set off with a student hiker, and they're headed into the subpolar Urals, but then the timetable didn't suit him well. So then he got introduced to Igor and his group. Yeah, yeah. Alarm bells immediately. In my head,
there's
like,
red flags.
Yeah, right.
Like Siberia winter is a big red flag. Guy who has like his body doesn't work because of rheumatoid arthritis. That's a red flag.
Yep. And then a 37-year-old man with gold teeth shows up.
Yeah,
he has gold teeth, by the way.
That's like the biggest red flag.
Yep. He had a...
That's like the flags you see at the fire stations that are huge. That's a big red flag.
Yep, exactly. So, also he had a tattoo of beets.
Like the vegetable?
Like the vegetable. Not Beats by Dre, because this is 1959. Like the vegetable.
Like Dwight Schrute. Like
yeah, exactly. He like rolled up from Schrute Farms with gold teeth, inked up, and he got an ink of beets.
Is that like a tough imagery in Russia at the time?
I don't know. I don't know.
People now get like eagles and tigers and stuff. Yeah. And like he's
like,
beets.
yo, this crop right here, bruh. So he's got.
I was gonna get a turnip, but I didn't want it to seem too hard. Gotta get a job, you know?
Yeah. So he's got beet tattoos and gold teeth, and at a time where tattoos are very like not the norm. So this dude is a character.
That's even added.
And he just rolls up. He's like, "Hey, this is perfect. I'm gonna join your group."
I really hope at least one person in the group was like, "Is this?"
Yeah, I hope someone's like, "Hey,
someone questioned
guys.
it." I hope one person did.
What? Yeah. So that happens, and everyone's like, "Cool, welcome aboard."
Yeah, we're in.
And then a nice, interesting quote from that night found it written in their in one of the diaries.
Whose diary?
This is Zena's.
Okay.
This is the diary entry on the train from Ivdel, or to Ivdel from Yekaterinburg.
Those are cities.
Sverdlovsk. Yeah. Well, okay. Yekaterinburg is the modern name for Sverdlovsk. It's the post
USSR or whatever.
Yeah. So Sverdlovsk on the train that night. She writes, "I wonder what awaits us in this hike. Will anything new happen?" Question mark? Like,
what does that mean?
So she writes that. She continues.
I kind of question if that's like romantic. If she liked one of the guys and she's saying it like that,
but like,
the girl, I don't judge.
Given the context, it's like so eerie. It's like, shit. Will anything new happen? I wonder what awaits us. It's like, ooh. She goes on to say, "Oh yes, the boys have given a solemn oath to not smoke the whole trip. I wonder how strong their willpower is. Will they manage without cigarettes? We are going to sleep, and Ural woods loom behind the windows." So they follow this train, and they eventually get to Ivdel.
It's a city.
It is a city. Yep.
We're almost to Dyatlov Pass.
Yep. So I'm going to kind of jump here where they're not on their way. I'm kind of following what Donnie Eicher's book did because it's
Donnie Eicher.
It's there's so much info. It's kind of tough to do it in this. I'm just going to follow this order.
So it's like a jump it forward.
Yeah. So now it's in February, and the group hasn't been heard from. They haven't returned on the date that they were supposed to, right?
Yeah.
So
missing.
Igor Dyatlov's younger sister, Rufina, is 21 years old. She's a pretty version of her brother. She goes basically to the campus office and is like, my brother hasn't returned. Can we do something about it?
Can someone do anything?
Yeah. So basically, this is February 16th, 3 days after the group was supposed to return home. And nobody seemed very worried from the administration of the school. They're all like, hey man, it's Russia in winter. Like, what'd you expect? Like, they'll be late. They are not sensitive to her plight.
You jump in a shark's mouth,
Right. So another reason that they were probably not concerned is that the hiking commission thoroughly checked the soundness of Igor's proposed route, and delays are routine in Russia in the winter, right? They're like, nah, we don't have to worry about anything. Everyone thinks it's just late. Delays happen. If one hiker sprains an ankle, the entire trip would be slowed, etc. They have all these excuses as to hey, we're not going to look into this because this could happen all the time.
Yeah.
If we go back to February 13th, 3 days earlier, on the day of the Dyatlov group's appointed return, and in the following days, family members of the hikers begin to express their worry. The parents of Rustic Slobodin are the first to express outward concern. Rustic's father, Professor Vladimir Slobodin, who teaches at the local agricultural university, basically called up the sports club, which is the athletic department of the college. And basically that's the point in which Lev Gordo, who is the head director of athletics, he's on a trip and he won't be returning for several days.
Convenient.
Right. So, and they were saying until Lev Gordo returns, little can be done.
So to summarize, the only person who can do anything to go look for these missing kids is gone.
Yeah.
And so it delays anything happening.
Yep. So 2 more days go by.
Yep.
And so the university's telephone starts ringing with more calls from nervous relatives. They're told variations of the same thing, that the group is delayed, the president of the club isn't around, nothing can be done at the moment, please be patient, etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
But the parents of the hikers are like, bro, these are our kids. We're freaking out here. So on February 17th, after bowing to the pressure from all the calls from the relatives, university officials send an inquiring telegram to Vijay, the village from which the Dyatlov group would be traveling. Meanwhile, the families make requests to the university for search planes, but the university says no. So,
got him.
Yeah, so hey, we already sent messages. We don't need to do search planes. We're not going to do that right now. So then the next day, February 18th, Lev Gordo returns. All right, so the athletic director is back, and he is now being informed of all the shitstorm that has...
What a way to come back from vacation.
Right? That's what I was thinking. I was like, that sucks. Because I know, I dread email when I get back to work after, being off for a week.
It's just a normal thing. And just to get back and be like, hey, 9 of your students are probably dead.
Yeah, they're just gone. They haven't returned. So a reply telegram comes back on that day from Vishay saying the Dyatlov group did not return. That's all the telegram says. Real quick.
So Vishay's the city that's the base camp. Where
basically they're that was their last stop.
They went up to the Dyatlov Pass. And wait.
So the Dyatlov...
It's called the Dyatlov Pass?
This is after the fact. So
okay, I was like, wait, Igor's name is...
Yeah. No, this was named after the group after it happened.
Okay, cool.
But Vishay was their last, actual outpost before they got to Stepan.
Mm-hmm.
So basically, after they get this message back, that's when they're like, okay, I guess we actually have to do something as a university. So Georgy Ortyukov, a lecturer of reserve officer training.
Yeah, let's get him into the plot line.
Yeah, let's get more. There's a lot of players in this that all have Eastern European names.
Sorry, listeners, just try to keep up. It's tough. Why do they all name the same names?
I don't know what to tell you.
Throw in an Aiden.
So basically, this guy... So they call in this lecturer of reserve officer training at the college. He takes charge of assembling a formal search party for the missing hikers. Lev Gordo, together with UPI student Yuri Blinov, another Yuri.
Let's get another Yuri.
Who was actually in a group that shadowed Dyatlov's on the first leg of the trip, so they kind of followed their route.
So they kind of knew what was happening.
Yeah, they didn't go on like an extreme thing like the Dyatlov group. They just kind of followed what they did.
So they're the closest to the case, really.
Right. So then they went off on their own thing and then came back to school.
Okay.
But basically, him and the head of the athletic department, Lev Gordo, are assigned to travel the following days to Ivdel, the gateway to the northern Urals, so they can start searching because this Yuri Blinov would have a good idea as to like general area to where they went from shadowing the group, right? Friday, February 20th, the search for the missing hikers officially begins.
So almost a month after they departed.
Yeah, this is now coming up on like almost a month, like 3 days before.
So these kids have been missing for almost a month.
Well, they haven't been missing for almost a month because technically they were supposed to come back on like the 16th of February.
Oh, okay. So
it's only
really
been
4 days.
It's really been 4 days extra.
Okay, that makes more sense.
So people are still like, it's
still a good amount of time.
It's a gray area because look where they went, and it could just take them a long time to get back, and so people aren't like, they're not like everyone's dead. They're like, hey, we just got to figure out where they are so we can get these parents off our backs, basically.
Yeah.
Gordo and Blinov fly out from Sverdlov by military helicopter and arrive later that day in Ivdel. From there, they take a Yak-12 surveillance plane north towards Vijay.
I thought you were going to end at Yak, and I was so excited.
They hopped on a Yak.
And got to kicking.
And they're like, let's find these kids. So they go up the Lozha River, over an abandoned mine, and pass Sector 41. Which is like, everything about it is just like, like they can't have regions named
Let me tell you something, loyal listener. There's one place you don't want to end up.
Sector 41.
Sector 41.
Any sector at all.
Sector anything sounds horrible.
Yeah, any sector followed by a number, that's a bad place to be.
Any sector, I instantly think it was sanctioned off by the military because there's paranormal stuff going on.
Yeah, so that's like a cluster of log cabins populated by woodworkers. They're just like a village of like woodcutters that just hang out, and it's called Sector 41. They then go west toward Severnaya Toshenka River, where the pair scan the Ural Ridge and western Ural slopes, but before they can get far, clouds and strong winds force them to turn back to the airfield for the night. So they basically like start to get out there, and then bad weather happens, and they're like, all right, we can't do this today.
No.
The same day that they're scanning in the northern Urals by air, Yuri Yudin has returned to Sverdlovsk for the new school term because he was assumed to be among the Dyatlov group.
Wait.
Yeah, Yuri Yudin.
He's back.
Asterisk guy is back at school.
And so rheumatoid arthritis guy goes hiking and just comes back without anyone and starts going to school like nothing happened.
Yeah. And here's what happens. Well, this is the explanation. He was assumed to be with the Dyatlov group. His peers were surprised to see his face, as you and I would be.
Yeah, I'm surprised to see his face. I can't even see it.
Yeah, and he is put in the position of explaining his peculiar non-absence. During the trip, Yudin's chronic back pain had reached incapacitating levels, forcing him to turn back early. But instead of returning directly to Sverdlovsk, Yudin had taken a detour to spend the rest of the winter break in his home village, Emilyashevka. He went back to his hometown, which is about 150 miles northeast of Sverdlovsk, and there he took his time and enjoyed the company of his family, unaware of what happened to the rest of the group. So basically, they got out there, and he was like, yo, guys,
see you later.
I literally can't, go with you guys. My back's killing me. I got to go.
Okay.
And then instead of going straight back to school, he went to his hometown and hung out with his family for a bit because it was like basically on the way back to school, and he's like, I might as well spend the rest of this like time I got with my fam.
Okay.
So decent alibi as to why he was not there. He also knows that Igor and the rest were running 3 days behind, a fact that Yudin realized he had forgot to relay by telegram to the university. So now the original 3 days of delay has become 6. He was supposed to like let them know, hey, they're going to be 3 days behind anyway, so don't freak out if it's like 3 days later. But now at this point, we have doubled that time.
He just remembered this 6 days later.
The next day, so that was on the same day that Gordo and Blinov were flying around trying to find the guys, but the bad weather happened, right? So the next day, they're in the air again, and the weather has greatly improved since the previous day. They fly to Vijay, Riverhead, and over the Anchula tributary. So they're flying around. But
so they're flying around looking for
the group, looking for any signs of the group.
In the area of the Dyatlov Pass.
Right. And the area they're in on this day is the territory of the region's indigenous people, the Mansi.
The Mansi are the original...
They're the indigenous...
Is this their burial ground or something? Are you going to tell me that? Don't tell me that.
I'm not going to tell you that, but what I am going to say is there's a lot of theory about the Mansi and this case. Because,
so they're like the native peoples of this area.
Right. The Mansi occupy sections of the Urals in northwestern Siberia. Their numbers are small, and they live in villages whose economies revolve around hunting, fishing, and herding of reindeer.
That's cool. So how do they play into this?
So basically, Gordo and Blinov approach a Mansi village, which is just like a cluster.
So Gordo and Blinov are kind of like our heroes right now, looking for everyone.
Yeah, they're like out trying to find them.
So everyone's gone. Gordo and Blinov, two guys.
Head of athletics and the guy who shadowed the Dyatlov group.
Okay, yes.
Right.
They are on a plane.
Yep.
Looking for people. So they're approaching an
Mansi
group.
Yeah, they're going to a village of the indigenous people because they're going to like try and find out if there's any like if they know anything or have seen kids or
Yeah. Okay.
They're like, hey, you're indigenous to this area. We're there strangers here. Can you give us some kind of clue?
Did you see anything? Yeah.
Right. So Mansi villages are clusters of traditional yurts. They use reindeer hides to insulate. So these are very primitive. They're not like modernized in any way. They're very indigenous, very primitive kind of
living off the land kind of thing.
Right. So the two men learn that a group of student hikers had stopped for tea in the village several weeks before. They were the guests of tribesman Peter Balyarov. Something to note is the Mansi have Russian names just the same as, modern Russian people.
Yeah.
And the hikers' stay was reportedly brief, and after they finished their tea, the group moved on, electing not to stay the night. So that's basically all they got out of the Mansi. They then take off on the plane again, west to the Urals. They're able to make out tracks of Mansi's sleigh below them when they're flying over the west of the Urals. They basically conclude that one of the Mansi natives, it's a courtesy to like see off departed guests. So they're thinking that like they hopped on a sleigh with the Mansi people and someone
kind of got them on their way.
Right. That's heading toward the Ural Mountains, but the track stops short of the tree line, and from there, any trace of the night hikers seems to dissolve into the wild. They're now like, okay, well, we got a little bit of info from these Mansi, but we didn't really get necessarily
just
info.
tea and stayed a while, then saw them off.
Right. So they didn't really get what...
Or drugged them and dumped the bodies.
Maybe.
I'm not jumping to conclusions, but that's my conclusion.
That's your conclusion right now.
Okay, so should we do like a sum up so far?
Yeah, we can. Let's summarize
because there's been a lot of names.
Yeah, there's been a lot of names and a lot of places
that might
and
be
stuff.
Tough, yeah.
There's a lot of locations that you can ignore. Okay, like all the rivers and like general. Just know that they left college. They left the college. They went missing. Then parents are calling the schools. Lev Gordo, athletic director, was on vacation. He comes back. He gets all this news that like these kids are missing and we got to find them. So he takes the last person to see the group, which is Blinov. And they both hop on a plane and start doing this search and rescue mission, right?
Mm-hmm.
They go to a Mansi village. The Mansi are like, hey, we hung out with a bunch of college students. We sent them on their way.
It was sick.
It was sick. There was kegs.
Mo Bamba was playing.
Now, and also Yuri Yudin returned to school, which was weird.
Yeah,
right.
What a dick. I hate that guy. Well, actually, no, I feel bad for him because he has the body of an 80-year-old man, but...
Yeah, right. He's not living an easy life to begin with.
He was just seeing his family.
Right. So
allegedly.
February 20th, the same day the search helicopter is dispatched from Sverdlovsk with Blinov and Lev Gordo. The Igvdel prosecutor's office orders a criminal investigation into the case of the missing hikers.
Now it's a case.
There's nothing yet criminal to investigate, but the purview of the office goes beyond the strictly criminal. The regional prosecutor, whose name I won't say just for sake of keeping things simpler, sends out like an investigator, and they're like, okay, we're going to make this like a criminal case so that we can use the resources of what you can use in a criminal case to help find these kids. Also at that time, the sports committee of Sverdlovsk, which is the main, where the college
university,
is, university, they're trying to determine the route so that they can relay information to the search teams because they now have started a search they have search parties now. They're like people are like they're getting volunteers.
This is a full-blown
this has become a full-blown
thing.
Search. Yeah. So they're like, hey, let's try and get as much information so we can relay out to these people who are searching for these kids. But because Igor Dyatlov's intended course was not formed in the hiking commission's files, the committee will have to track down someone acquainted with the group's journey. Not realizing that one of the hikers, Yuri Yudin, has since returned to town, the committee turns to the only man who believe can help, Yevgeny Maslenikov. Now, you can remember Yevgeny's name, okay? Because he's going to basically become the leader of the search party.
Even though there's a much more qualified leader of a search party who they just don't know is there.
Yeah, they didn't realize
he was there.
Yeah, they didn't realize that one of the members of the party is back on campus.
So now Denny is going to lead them.
So now Yevgeny...
Oh, sorry. What's his name?
Yevgeny. So Yevgeny is like, all right, he's a chief mechanical engineer at the local metal mill, and he's a distinguished alumni of the college. He is also one of the best backcountry skiers in the city. So they like,
of course.
This is like...
You've never heard of
Yevgeny Maslenikov?
He's a legend in some circles.
It's basically like them like going to like the old retired grizzled veteran and be like, we need you one last time.
This whole thing is I know there is a movie of it, but this is a movie.
Yeah, that's why it's like
he's the guy who's gonna hunt the shark.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like we're gonna catch the Meg.
Yeah.
So Yevgeny is like he's also a consultant to the skiing hiking club because he's such a good skier. And actually Igor Dyatlov had Yevgeny personally sign off on a proposed course into the mountains.
This one or a different one?
This one.
He's the only one who knows because he signed off on it.
Right. Basically, Igor was like, hey, do you think this route is going to work? And Yevgeny was like, yeah, that should be fine.
Sounds like he blew it.
I mean, yeah. So Yevgeny gets a call. He's surprised to learn that Igor and his friends have not yet returned. And he says, in quote, I told him what I knew about their route. I said that the route was hard, but the group was strong. They couldn't lose their way, and therefore the situation is critical. So he's like, yo, this should have been a piece of cake for these guys. And the fact that they're not back is like a big
alarming
flag. Yeah, it's very alarming. So fast forward to February 23rd, the day after Gordo and Blinov visit the village. Several of the Mansi tribesmen join the search effort. Their help is essential because they know the mountains intimately, and the group is led by this like head Mansi guy, Stepan Kurikov.
Stepan?
Stepan. Stepan.
That's a cool name.
Yeah. So Stepan's like the head of the Mansis.
So now we got the two guys in the airplane.
We've got Lev Gordo.
Lev and Gordo.
No, we got Lev Gordo. That's one guy.
Sorry.
So Lev Gordo and Yuri Blinov.
And Yuri Blinov are the two plane guys.
They're in the air, right? They're the Air Force.
In my head, I'm defining this as two airplane guys from the college.
Yep, two airplane guys from the college.
A Mansi chief
who's out there like, hey, I know this land. I'll help you guys out.
And Yevgeny, the world's most famous backcountry skier.
Right. Yeah. So that's the cast of characters looking for these kids.
Okay.
Right. So Stepan is a respected elder of the people. So he's like, yo, I'll help you guys out. I know this area. Let's get it. So February 24th, there is now an escalation of the search efforts because they're like, we can't find these kids. And everyone's starting to be like, this is not going to turn out. Yes, this is not going to turn out well. So the 24th, there's now boots hitting the ground. There's UPI students, family members, local officials, and volunteers from the surrounding work camps. Nearly 30 searchers fan out over the snowy topography to try and find these kids.
So we have to be getting close to when we're going to find these kids, right?
Yeah, right. So now everyone is now gone from the college, and they're on the front lines trying to find these kids in the woods, right?
They're at level midnight.
Yeah,
at this point. DEFCON 5.
So on the 25th, the day after the Mansi chief joined, a note is dropped to one of the groups that are searching for the kids from the air, saying that the search party should alter its route and begin searching along a smaller river, the Ospia, where ski tracks were recently spotted.
Oh, so this is someone searching as well from the plane.
Yeah, so there's a plane sees ski tracks.
See, when you said that, I thought a snow came out of the sky being like, the bodies are here. And I was like,
no. Yeah, that would be
insanity.
This would be the nuttiest true story of all time, and everybody would know it.
Yeah.
No, so that's how they basically, back in the 50s, they had no, there was a ban on shortwave radios, so they had to drop notes with, rocks on them out of planes. That's how they... If they had not banned these technologies, this search would have been so much cleaner.
General communication sounds very difficult.
Right. So they say, hey, we spotted some tracks...
by a river,
ski tracks.
Go find them.
Why don't you, start going in this direction? So the team, they changed the course, and the same day, not only did they pick up on the ski trail, but also evidence of one of their campsites along the river. So oh shit,
what kind of
we're getting close.
evidence?
We're getting close. They just find like a old campsite.
So like burnt out fire.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. They're like, oh, people were here recently.
Yeah.
Well, relatively. So in some point on the afternoon on February 26th, the tent is found.
The tent? They were all sharing one tent?
Yeah, it's a huge tent.
Oh, okay.
It's like a really big tent.
Is there a picture of it on here?
There is a picture, but you can't really tell the size of it because it's like from when it was ripped up. So basically the last picture they took is on there, and that's of them setting up the camp. Is like one of the last photos taken. You can see it, right?
Which one is it?
It's like
it's like a bunch of people.
Yeah, they're like
sticking out.
Yeah, sticking up, and they're like in a ditch kind of. Yeah, it's.
So if you're listening, if you're one of the millions of listeners who is listening in their car, it's like everyone and a bunch of skis sticking out, and it looks like a whiteout, like a blizzard.
Yeah, and that's literally the conditions all the time. Like that's all.
Someone's taking a picture, and clearly one of the other people was like, "Why the fuck are you taking a picture?
Yeah,
Come help set up camp."
And they're like, "But this is gonna go on my Insta." All right, so at some point in the afternoon, they see something. What the?
There's a horrifying noise coming from the kitchen right now.
I gotta investigate what this noise is.
I hate this. Why does this have to happen while we're doing this? Why are we doing it in the haunted mansion? Okay, so it's just me right now, and Darcy left, and now I'm really scared. So essentially, the fan just turned on myself. So a fan just turned on by itself in Darcy's horrifying house of horrors. Where we don't usually do this here. We're going to be doing it in like a modern, not haunted home, but that's the scariest thing I've ever heard. So if this podcast is the last will and testament we have, nobody touch my stuff.
If you need to find our bodies, drop a note from a helicopter.
Yeah, get the crew in.
All
here.
right,
get Igveni. Yevgeny. He'll know.
Yeah, he'll know. There's some bad electricals. So the search party, they're quoted as saying, "I noticed a black spot that was actually part of a tent." And the young men hurry towards the spot as quickly as the wind and deep snow will allow them. The tent's poles are still vertical, with the south-facing entrance still standing, but recent snowfall has covered much of the tarpaulin, causing part of it to collapse.
The tarpaulin?
The
How is it covered?
The tent. So
dang tarpaulin.
So snow is now covering the tent because in the interim between the tent being found and, it snowed, so it's kind of now caving in a little bit from snow.
Yeah, the tarpaulin.
Right. Causing part of it to collapse, though it is not immediately clear whether it is the result of a storm or of wind redistributing the surrounding snow. The men call out but receive no answer. There is an ice axe near the front of the tent.
Like they're just yelling at the tent?
Well, they're just yelling like around like, hey.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Dyatlov group.
Is anyone in there? Get out.
I'm supposed to knock, but it's so hard with this fabric.
So hard when the tarpaulin's all covered.
So they're calling out, and then there's an ice axe near the front of the tent sticking out of the snow, but there's also a partially buried Chinese torch, which is like a flashlight. More or less.
Okay. I was like, what? The Chinese were here?
I don't know.
Plot thickens.
Yeah. Basically left on the on position. So they retrieve the axe, and he rips open the tent with the axe. Real solid CSI work right there of just running up to a crime scene.
Ripping into it.
And just ripping into this...
tarpaulin.
So as they're scanning the surrounding area, snow begins to fall, and they realize it's probably too late to search the area. So before heading back to camp, they gather items that may prove useful to the search party: a jacket, a camera, medical alcohol, a pair of skis, Igor's Chinese torch, a.k.a. flashlight, and the ice axe. So they grab the stuff. They're like, it's getting late. We don't have time right now to actually search the place.
The main search party?
Yeah, this is the search party that found it.
Okay.
So they're like, let's get back to the others. So word of the tent quickly spreads amongst the search groups, and the next day, multiple search teams arrive on the eastern slope of the mountain to begin a more intensive search. Besides the team that found it, there is a group headed by Yevgeny. So Yevgeny now rolls up to the scene. He's the ski hiker that approved the route, right? And basically a local police captain is there with him, and some Mansi volunteers. And then there's, so basically all the volunteers are starting to come to the tent because they found it, right?
Yeah, it's ground zero for this investigation.
Which
now.
I totally understand from the volunteers and like all the groups being like, oh my God, we got to see it. But at the same time, you were like destroying this like
crime scene. Yeah.
Like they have 30 people wandering.
They don't have
around.
a tight
right
CSI going on in
not 1959 in Eastern Russia. But at the same time, you've now got 30 people like
touching it and like
it's
probably much harder to track at this point.
The police chief that was there described the scene as chaotic, and that in hindsight should have been left to experienced investigators. So
that guy knows what he's talking about.
So, but the problem was that the lead prosecutor on the case had not yet arrived, and the searchers see no points to
screw him, dude. We have Evgeny.
Yeah, exactly.
He's gonna go find every single one of these kids.
So they see no point. The rest of the group is like, why would we waste time with procedural formalities? Let's find these hikers alive and bring them home. So they pick over the tent and its contents for clues, and policemen with search dogs.
The tent and its tent?
Yeah, they search the tent and the tarpaulin for clues. Yeah. And policemen with search dogs come, and they're like, let's get this thing into full swang. Unfortunately, there are no discernible tracks in the surrounding snow for the dog teams to follow. This is probably because of the incline on the slope that the tent was found and the wind having swept away any traces of footsteps. So that kind of makes this entire thing way harder. Like, you don't know if there was a track of an animal or a footprint it's all been swept away. There has been evidence of the hikers' prints. However, because of all the people swarming the tent and touching it, they've been obliterated. Like, there's no...
That's amazing.
Yeah. So...
Well, not amazing in like a good way. Amazing in like a... There was so little foresight involved in any part of this operation.
Right. So, however, farther down the slope...
Let's go down the slope a little bit.
Yeah, where the land levels out, one of the teams picks up impressions in the hardened snowpack. About 20 yards away from the tent, there are multiple sets of footprints that have remained preserved. Some of the prints are large, others are smaller and less distinct, as if the person who left had not been wearing shoes. The investigators count 9 sets of prints, extending for nearly half a mile towards the river valley. The tracks are split into 2 parallel paths, continuing toward the valley before merging again. The searchers follow these footprints until they find a patch of freshly fallen snow, at which point the prints disappear, but the searchers continue on, hoping to pick up the trail again. Meanwhile, about a mile away, another member of that main group that found the tent are scouting an area suitable for camp. Basically, with all
for them,
yeah, this is that. So they're looking.
So they're building a camp
now.
For the search party.
Yeah. They need a place to sleep now because there's so many people there, and like everyone's like trying to find a place that's like away from the crime scene to like start sleeping.
Yeah.
As they're going to find their own spot for a tent, they come across a spot that doesn't seem quite right. Beneath a large cedar tree, they notice charred cedar bows, like cedar, like wood.
I see. When you said that, I thought like a bow and arrow bow made out of cedar.
Cedar, Boughs. I assume it means like
seeds.
Cedar.
Are they like the trunk, the seeds?
I don't know. Why don't we Google what about?
I'm gonna bring it up.
This is
a big part of the story, ladies and gentlemen.
We're college educated, but
it's like literally just like a little bushel of cedar stuff.
Okay. Oh, so it's like the pine needles, or is it like...
Yeah, so cedar is like an evergreen, and it's like a little bushel. Like if you cut off the top of your Christmas tree, it would look like a cedar bow.
Okay. So they're partially buried in the snow. As they draw closer, they find what looks like traces of a fire pit. The haphazard nature of the pit tells them that this was not a proper campsite. Nor does it appear to be the remains of a Mansi fire. It's Mansi's, as the Mansi tended to stick close to the woods and river to set their winter traps. Just north of the pit, one of the men points to something sticking out of the snow. As they draw closer, they find that is a human knee.
Oh!
Ding, ding,
I got
ding.
They're like, yo, knee is it?
Yeah, they're like, yo, we got to head back to camp and alert the others. And they actually
I think they saw the knee and then just bailed.
Just started screaming and running away.
Nope.
But so they're like, hey, let's not destroy the tent and destroy the screen.
They don't want to just walk around and touch it.
Yeah. So they go back. They grab Evgeny, right? They grab the dude.
Yeah, the guy who knows what he's doing. Let's get him in here.
So he heads over there. And when they excavate the snow from around the exposed knee, they find not one body, but 2 lying side by side, both men.
Do you see that? Regular people only found one. Evgeny?
Yeah, Evgeny doubled.
He doubled it.
That's a 2-for-1 Evgeny special. Hey everybody, Scones and I recorded a little over 3 hours of unedited audio for this episode, so for the sake of consumability, we're going to split this episode up into 2 parts. The first part will be the search for the hikers, and part 2 will be the autopsy and theories surrounding the deaths. Be sure to check out part 2 wherever you get podcasts. Thank you for listening, and have a great Monday.